This is Andy Hamilton from Manaki, and we're here at Indigo Studios. We've got a very special real talk this morning with Dougals. Good morning or afternoon, depending on when people are watching it. So just a few little bit of housekeeping. So subscribe on our YouTube channel, Manaki. Come to manaki.io and join up as a member. We've got 6,500 members on that platform. And also, special welcome to the friends and family Discord server members that Paddy McPhee and a group of people launched a few months ago. It's an awesome community, friends and family. And actually, there's a few invites you can get in now if you want to join that Discord. It's an incredible Discord. If I just say again, it is incredible, but you can only get in if you find another member. So let's all go onto Instagram, Pat McPhee, and connect with him and ask him to join into the Discord. No. You got to find someone else in the friends and fam Discord to invite you in. But it's pretty exciting, and it's an indication of maybe what Manaki might be doing further down the track in the future. So welcome.
Thank you.
You're in the Indigo Studios.
Yeah.
What do you think?
That's great. So I've mentioned to you before, Andy, I live just around the corner, as you know, and I've been walking past here for a long time and seeing this tiny little building with cars outside. And first time I came inside, it's literally like walking into the TARDIS. The place is enormous inside. There's a studio in here. There's a bigger studio next door, which could be an event space too. There's a very, very cool wall, which has got a lot of things that could have been picked from my house. So Air Jordan 5s, Public Enemy, It Takes a Nation of Millions on vinyl, a Rubik's Cube, an Atari 2600, all things that I've got at home, ironically. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff in here. And the Street Fighter.
Yeah. If you had to describe yourself, Dougal Swift, in one word, what would it be?
Dougal Swift. 2 words, Dougal.
Creative,
yeah, passionate, thoughtful, father,
marketer, degen.
Yeah. One word is really difficult. Degen only if I was joking with friends. Like, I wouldn't really think I'm a degen. I like to think my crypto investment's a little bit more thought through than that.
How would people like Brooke describe you?
Have to ask Brooke that. Probably similar.
That's pretty cool. So, corporate exec, marketer, NFT investor, actually Bitcoin evangelist and early investor. You've got a parallel life in the metaverse and in the day job, which we're going to talk about. You've won awards, marketing awards. You've got a background in also loyalty, which is super interesting. DJ before you had kids. Do you still DJ?
Very occasionally.
Kids' birthday parties?
No.
Dougal gets up, does
Never, ever let the other parents at school know that you used to be a DJ, because you'll get asked to play the 6-year-olds disco. So no.
You should do that, because, you know, by the time the kids are 11, 12, 13, you're going to be so uncool.
Yeah, I'm not sure the 6-year-old kids are ready for the music that I play, but yeah.
And you're passionate about decentralisation.
Really passionate about
and the role that can play in society.
Yeah.
Right. So, but let's start with some crypto Web3 stuff, because it's the more fruity side of Dougal. I don't know about that, but it is. So, rocket questions. When did you get into crypto?
2017.
When did you first think about getting into crypto?
2014.
What took you 3 years?
First up, Bitcoin was peaking in 2014. We were speaking about it around a poker table one night, and I just then felt I missed the bus, and it was already $1,000, I think, at the time, and the price came right down. I kind of forgot about it. Then read about Ether in 2017, and that's what got me in.
Do you regret
I'm not going to miss Ether?
Not getting in earlier?
I'm thrilled I got in when I did.
Yeah.
No regrets, right?
Yeah.
I learned from 2014. I got in early 2017, so I'm pretty happy with that decision.
Do you look at your coins and investments every day?
Yeah.
Only at nights? Not during the day?
In elevators, in the car, like...
On the do you have 2 phones?
No, one
Work phone?
No.
No.
One phone.
When did you buy your first NFT?
October last year.
What was it?
Fluff.
A fluff?
Yeah. So...
do people say to you, what the fuck is a fluff?
Yeah, you get funny looks when you tell people, or they find out that you invest in digital rabbits on the internet. But look, I'd looked at NFTs, I'd seen CryptoPunks. I thought they were really cool. I'd seen Bored Ape, I wasn't so enamored with those. And then Brooke had told me about NFL and what they were doing with fluffs, and he actually rang me on the morning of the mint, and I was playing with my kids, so I didn't answer the phone. So I missed the fluff mint.
That's good that you're prioritizing your kids.
Yeah, thank you. So then I went on OpenSea literally every day for 6 weeks wanting to buy a fluff, and they just looked too freaky for me. I just couldn't get into them. And NFTs didn't really fit my investment thesis of having scarcity. Like, I like to invest in things that have got genuine finite supply, so land and Bitcoin. No more land, no more Bitcoin. NFTs, there's always another range of NFTs that come out. But as I did a bit of research on Fluff World, I think, hey, this is really cool. I like what they're doing. I like the tokenomics. They're delivering value back to the core asset holders. I really want to get into this, but I just couldn't find one that I liked. And after 6 weeks of looking literally every single day.
6 weeks?
Yeah, on OpenSea, like every night.
I just have a pattern here.
Yeah.
Like, it took you 3 years to get into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then it took you 6 weeks.
Yeah. Declining volatility, right? So, I found this fluff, and ironically, it looked a bit like my wife. It was a darkness fur. It had a tennis visor on, and she had a similar tennis visor at the time. And I rang Brooke and I said, hey, look, what do you think? He had another friend at his house that night, I think, he was helping them buy a fluff too. And he's like, oh, go for it. That's a good track. So I grabbed this female fluff, darkness fluff with a tennis visor, and then one became two, became a lot.
Did you seek approval from your wife when you bought that first
Oh,
time?
Absolutely. She was right into this. I showed her and I said, what do you think? And she was like, yeah, I love that. Let's get that one.
And what does she think now, given that you probably have like 100 to 200 NFTs?
Yeah, she's really, really supportive, and it's been a successful investment strategy for us. So she's really supportive of it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I always show her things I'm about to buy and say, what do you think?
You do?
Yeah.
Like sitting next to each other, or on, like, you screenshot on your phone and say, hey, I'm looking at this, what do you think?
I remember one night last year, it was like 1 a.m. and I'd been on the Discord and I'd been reading about robo thingies, and I just thought they were the coolest execution. I hadn't got one through having the right trade. And there was this robo thingy for like 3.6 Ether. And that was a lot of money at the time, right? That was like, I don't know, 20 grand or something NZD. And I said to Faye, like 1 a.m., we're just sitting up in bed on our phones. What do you reckon? She goes, oh, yeah, get it. So I grabbed this robo thing. It felt fantastic for doing it. So she's always really, really supportive.
That's pretty cool. So day job, you go to work, you got a day job. You've had it for quite a long time. What is it?
Got a fantastic day job. So I work for the AA, which to anyone overseas is like New Zealand's motoring club. We provide roadside assistance and a whole lot of other products and services to a good chunk of New Zealand's population, 1.7, nearly 1.8 million members. So about 55% of our fully licensed driver population in this country. So a very successful business.
And you've been there
18 years.
18 years.
Yeah. It's
a long time.
And I didn't expect to stay in a job for 18 years. I came from Air New Zealand, where I'd run Airpoints, which is a really successful frequent flyer program and fantastic airline. And at the time, I remember when I joined AA and we did some qual research, because people were saying to me, why are you going to go and join that old boys club? And I thought, what a wonderful opportunity to get in there and develop that brand to connect with the new generation of Kiwis. And I remember when we first did qual research, we were described as the friendly uncle you wouldn't take to a party. And I thought, what a great brand to work with. And we've done some really awesome stuff in that last 18 years, and still a lot more to do. So it's still a great place to work.
And it's not a corporate, right? Well, I mean, it's a membership-based organisation.
Yes,
membership owned.
AA is owned by its members, and that's, I think, what makes the organisation so special. So when you work at an organisation like that, the ethos is not maximise profit for shareholders. The ethos is how can we deliver maximum value to our member customers, and that's a really, really cool ethos to work with, and delivering value back to the people who use your service. And that's where I get.
Is it different? I'm going to interrupt, but if we just think about what you just said around ethos to the membership and your members, and it's a large organisation, a successful organisation. You previously worked at Air New Zealand, which is a large organisation and a successful organisation. Different ownership structures.
Yeah.
Cultures similar?
Chalk and cheese.
Chalk and
very,
cheese.
very different. Yeah. And pros and cons of each, right? Like, my last 2 years at Air New Zealand, I'd gone to Melbourne to work for Ansett Australia, which Air New Zealand had purchased in 2000, and Ansett Australia went into administration 2 days after September 11. So came back. We spent 2 years after Air New Zealand got bailed out by the government, re-engineering, rebuilding the airline, working 100 hours a week, a lot of pressure, a very, very visible company, which New Zealand public thinks they have a stake in. They do now through government ownership. But they're very passionate about it, and they watch everything you do very closely. And it was, things, and airlines also overall are a terribly unprofitable industry, right? People used to say the fastest way to make $1 million in the airline game is start with $1 billion, right?
Yeah.
Whereas AA, very stable, trusted, very trusted. And because it's so trusted and people have an expectation of what you do, you change that very, very slowly and cautiously. You've got a lot of customers who love what you're doing and don't necessarily want you to change radically. They're not the sort of brand that people look to for marketing stunts, or they just want trusted service when they need it. And that's your brand promise, and doing that really well, being there on time.
So I know you've gone all in on the fluff ecosystem. What's your investment horizon when you think now of fluff?
Yeah. So, look, first up, and I don't want anything in this interview to be taken as financial advice, but you want to maintain a diversified investment portfolio, right?
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of NFTs, I've got a lot of fluffs, but it's still a relatively small chunk of my overall investment portfolio.
That's a good qualifier.
Yeah. So
Kids don't go all in.
Unless you're really confident. And the timing is great. I've got a lot of faith in what NFL non-fungible labs and now Futureverse are building. Ironically, when Brooke set up NFL, he was telling me what he was doing, and he told me it was with Aaron McDonald. And I'd met Aaron previously. Aaron had come to AA for a meeting and had been sitting in my office when Bitcoin first passed $10,000 at the end of 2017. So I knew a bit about Aaron, and I'd always been really impressed by his thinking. I knew he'd built this big network of companies to deliver the metaverse experience through that crypto bear market of 2018, 2019, following their very successful ICO for Centrality. So I've been watching that with interest, and the more I dived in, I really liked the roadmap and what these guys were trying to develop, which is like an open metaverse with all the parts that you need, but really, really focused on onboarding mass market through ease of adoption. And it's like investing in the internet in 1995 or 1996.
It's a good analogy, right?
And so I thought, well, wow, what a great opportunity to get into something that early with some founders that I've got a lot of faith in. And I think it's a fantastic story that this is based in New Zealand and taken to the world. I see some deals these guys have done. So I've read a lot about it and I've got a lot of faith in it.
Take to the right. So your kids, under 10. Let's say they're 16.
Yeah.
So when they're 16-year-olds or 16-year-olds or 16 and 14, right? How are they engaging in this? Like, how do you see them engaging with your NFTs and in that ecosystem?
Okay, so without meaning to be flippant, obviously a big part of the ecosystem is going to be play to win.
Yeah.
And my kids are going to hit their peak gaming years just as the play to win comes along. So they're into Roblox and Minecraft now. Give Fluff World some time to get their gaming and PDE up to speed. Adam, etc. I'm going to get my kids right into the stuff. They've got NFTs named after them already that they've chosen for my collection. They've both got a party bear that's named after each of them. I love it. They're really interested in Dad's NFTs and looking at them. They tell me what they like. So,
but it's not a linear progression. Like if you go 7-8 years out,
so
it might be to you, but think about to others like the goblins, the seekers.
Yeah. So look, my investment thesis is I want to maintain a big portfolio of income producing NFTs that I can use then to create a family trust.
Yeah.
And that family trust will provide, tertiary education, not just for my kids, but for a whole lot of kids.
Yeah.
My wife's one of 11 children. There's a lot of cousins and children in the broader family who don't necessarily have the same access to things my kids will have. So if I can help more kids get into tertiary education, things like that, through a big stable of NFT investments, and that's going to be a really cool outcome.
So you're going to be like the property degens of the 2000s who owned all those apartments and houses and in the metaverse.
Yeah, well, I've also done a lot of property development myself, and so the parallels with virtual land are real, right?
Real. So just trying to think, because if I think about your background, right, creative as a DJ, membership marketing, now investment in Bitcoin, like when you think about some tips, right, like how important do you think community is for Web3?
Community is Web3. I think what excites me so much about Web3 is that we're going to replace these big tech companies that control Web2 with a fully decentralized, community-owned replacement, and that's wonderful, right? Let people choose how they engage with other people.
Is that an uprising?
Yeah, or a transition or an evolution. It's Uprising has like a
Activism.
Yeah, activism to it. And I think there's a little bit of that. I think it's a really nice evolution. And it's one of the other things I love about working at AA. It's a really nice alternative to traditional corporate structure.
Now, some of us get to see the amazing capability that exists in that fluff ecosystem, which many of us know well. And sometimes you can see many of us know well. And sometimes you can, when I say no, we see it from the outside. Like there's a lot of resources there.
Yeah.
Like a lot. And a lot of people doing the mahi. It's incredible. Sometimes you can sit back as someone who wants to do an NFT or build a community and you just go, we could never do that. We could never do that. So what would be your tips for people who are thinking, I want to do a range, people who are thinking, I want to do a range or I want to do an NFT?
Well, I think you have to think about what are you trying to achieve by doing a range, right?
Yeah.
What's its purpose? It needs a purpose. So don't just go into a range for the sake of doing a range.
So let's just say, we could take two personas. We've got a musician.
Okay.
Like I see Diaz Grimm has just launched his new album today on Spotify, which is, he's going down that path of NFTs, which is freaking cool. Or you could get like a Māori or Pacifica artist that is going, I want to get my art into the digital world, and NFTs is an opportunity. So let's just talk about digital artists.
Well, let's talk about digital art. So historically in the art community, if you're an artist, it was physical. You had to exhibit in a gallery to start getting your work exposed, right?
Yeah.
That means the only people who can see your work are people who live near that gallery, live in that city, and can visit that gallery easily. With NFTs and the metaverse, you've suddenly got the chance to expose your art globally,
which is cool.
And most artists, right? Your art's a very particular thing, and interest in art is very, very niche often. So if there's take the example you gave, a Māori artist, say if there's 5,000 people in the whole world who are really passionate about that art, then how many of those are going to be living in the city where you happen to exhibit in a gallery previously? Now you've got an opportunity to try and connect with those 5,000 people and build a really strong community. It's not a huge community, but it's a very passionate, engaged community who love your stuff. And all you need is probably 1,000 people as an artist who really love your work to maintain a very viable community and acquire your production.
So I think about those artists, right? And I think about the enormity and the challenge of learning about smart contracts, building brand, building community.
Yeah.
Can they do that by themselves?
Yeah. You can launch an NFT on OpenSea really easly by yourself. Yeah, it's not hard. And you don't need to spend long just Googling how to do this stuff. There's so many wonderful tutorials on the internet you can use to do anything these days. So
okay.
Yeah.
Some deep questions. How do you explain your crypto and NFT plays to your kids?
My kids know a lot more about Bitcoin than they probably should. And
that's cool.
It's distorted their perception of money and value, which I have to monitor carefully as well.
Do they talk to their mates?
Yeah, sometimes. That's what you want to kind of try and avoid, right?
And then when you go to the parent-teacher events, do like other or like other parents say, "Oh, you're that that crypto guy."
Yeah. And then you get funny. Then you get people who are very dismissive, particularly of NFTs, and they might have seen me post a picture of a fluff on Instagram or something, and you get people who you hear are very, very dismissive about that because they don't fully understand it, right?
Diversity in NFTs and Web3.
Yeah, well, diversity is, I think, one of the real strengths of the fluff world ecosystem, right? It's it doesn't have the crypto bro culture that a lot of other sections of crypto sphere have got. I think non-fungible labs, to their credit, have really focused from the get-go on building a very inclusive space where everyone feels comfortable. And I know a really diverse range of people through that ecosystem who represent all sort of walks of life, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So T Lotta, you're coming for a real talk with me. I know T Lotta in a different world, so I'm looking forward to welcoming you.
I had a coffee with T Lotta last week. And
did you?
Yeah.
Did you remind her
this time last Friday, I was sitting on the steps down by the beach in Western where I caught up with T Lotta. Actually, I wanted to pick her brain about her other life as one of New Zealand's leading app developers and mobile pioneers. So
yeah, it's pretty cool actually. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you for a real talk. You're going to be in this chair You don't have to be. I don't want you to feel bullied, but if you would like to come, that would be cool. Knowing yourself, what do you think the peeps watching this would want to know about you?
Would want to know about me. I think they're probably more interested in what I can share from my learnings and getting into this ecosystem, right? So I know there's a lot of people who are interested in getting into Web3, thoughts on where it's going. How do they invest in NFTs? Should they invest in NFTs? Should they invest in Bitcoin? How can they understand that ecosystem better? Where do you start? How can you learn from people who've done it? All those kinds of things. I get a lot of questions. I get a lot of people ringing me up about this stuff.
And you take the calls?
Yeah.
Is that consistent with the industry, that people are very generous?
I think it's definitely consistent with the fluff world ecosystem, because I'm a fluff world maxi, right? That's all I've got to compare it to. I do follow a lot of crypto Twitter, and you do see, I guess, there's a distinct difference between how the fluff world community behaves and maybe some of the other projects out there. And obviously, a lot of them are based in the US or other markets, which have maybe got a stronger capitalist sort of culture and focus and a much bigger population base. You know, one of the great things about the fluff world is there's some concentration of ownership, obviously, in New Zealand, Auckland being a hometown. And so there's a lot of people you know, not just through Discord, but you know, maybe socially, your friends of friends. We're a small country, and it keeps you honest and keeps the values high. And I think that's really good.
Yeah, that's cool. NFTs, Web3 being utilized for good. Because if you think about what you've shared with your massive portfolio, which you hope to be income earning, asset returning, and then you're going to utilize those for good. If we just so that's one use through scale. What other ways do you think can you see, like, for good for New Zealand, where NFTs and Web3 could go?
Well, first up, we have got probably the bleeding edge pioneer of the open metaverse based in Auckland, New Zealand, right? We are not, as a country, embracing that enough.
I don't think people realise.
Yeah, the story.
I don't know what their value is, but it's
the story isn't as well known as it could be. And New Zealand's got such an opportunity to be a tech hub. You know, we're a wonderful place to live. We've got amazing outdoor pursuits. A lot of the things that the strong people in tech would value from a lifestyle perspective, we can offer here, but we haven't done anything over our COVID lockdowns to really encourage those people to come here, right? We've shut our country down.
Yeah. I saw some stats, immigration stats, visa stat numbers, which were just like 4 years ago, 4 million entries into New Zealand.
Yeah.
And in the few tens of thousands now. Yeah. So we've got to change that, right? And I think all of us who get out, who are lucky enough to get out of the country, you know, in the last few months, start to go, wow, the rest of the world's gone on. They've moved on.
That's right.
White space opportunities. So I'm thinking, you know, for innovators, people who want to get in this space, like, do you see areas, like we've talked about offline, about AA, and you're going, hey, it's quite a conservative, older demographic of members. You know, they're not going to go all crazy on NFTs. But can you see other areas where you go, that's interesting?
Yeah, I think the first thing that will happen with NFTs, which will see mass adoption, will be in terms of proof of asset ownership, right? So real estate, cars, connection there with AA, will move to NFT for a register of those assets, right?
Yeah.
Instead of a very complex conveyancing process for exchanging property titles, it'll be an NFT process which will streamline that, would take
a lot of cost out.
Take a lot of cost out for people, make it much, much easier on a blockchain, irrefutable, right?
If you had to,
it has to be within 5 years. Like, it has to be, yeah.
Where else do you think?
Music, I think, is a really interesting space to watch in the NFT space at the moment, and we don't know how it's going to play out. But there's a lot of stuff happening, and there's some really interesting mints probably on the periphery of fluff world that are going on at the moment, which I'm watching with a lot of interest. And so I think music and transforming that industry offers a lot of opportunity, and then that leads to pushing the ability of the community to create their own art, music, visual, etc., and leverage Web3 for that. There's so much potential.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Do you reckon it's just gonna, like, it's gonna come at us, and one day we're gonna wake up and go, "What happened?" Or it's gonna be slow?
No, it'll be really, really fast when it does happen, as will Bitcoin adoption. You know, and I follow that curve really closely too. And you know, you look at smartphones, you look at the internet. They start off slowly in their niche, and we've all seen the stories, the reprinted stories from mainstream media saying the internet was a fad and it was dead back in the mid-90s, and then you see what had happened within 5 years' time. These things will accelerate at a phenomenal speed over the next 5 years.
If you think about the startup world in the Web 1, Web 2 tech area versus the Web 3 area, do you see the same things happening, where it's have an idea, raise some money, scale some more money, go down the track, sell to someone?
Yeah, I think those practices are always there. I think, that's a traditional capitalist model, right?
You believe in capitalism?
I think capitalism is still the best alternative that we have, but I think decentralization offers opportunities to improve upon it. And I think capitalism, we don't have pure capitalism. We have a very distorted version of capitalism, even more so in the States, right? And when you get a lot of power concentrated in a very small handful of big tech companies, you've got a real problem. So the internet, ironically, has led to more centralization of ownership and power, and that's not a good thing for the community. So that's the great promise of Web3.
Would you like to own a monopoly?
No, I don't need to own anything. I'd rather participate.
You'd like to control a monopoly?
I don't need to control a monopoly either. I'd rather participate in, I'm a real libertarian at heart, right? I'd rather participate in a really healthy, strong community where people are engaged, free to do their own thing, and we've got a lot of freedom.
I think choice is very important.
Mm-hmm.
I think access is very important. I also think belief.
Yeah.
Like people believing from wherever they come. I mean, it sounds idealistic, but from wherever they come, if they're prepared to do the hard work, they can have a chance.
Yeah. And I look at a lot of the social problems we have, not just in New Zealand at the moment, but around the world. We've got increasing crime rates. We've got a bit of a sense of economic despair at the moment with the economy. You can see what's happening around Auckland. We've got gun crime now, which we never used to have. We've got a lot of bad stuff. We've got drug problems. We've got meth and opioid addictions and all sorts of horrible things, not so much in New Zealand, but certainly in the States. And, a lot of that stuff comes from a lack of engagement in the community, right? And in New Zealand, we know there's been challenges with the Māori population, disenfranchised and urbanized, and losing touch with maybe some of their traditional culture. Building community around things is really, really important to make people feel a valued member of society. And I think as the wealth gap has increased, as the economy has started to struggle, as people have felt the stress of COVID over the last few years, we've clearly seen things change for the worse. So we need to find a way of engaging people to have a healthy, strong society where everyone can contribute and is valued.
Decentralisation generally, is it that movement for devolvement, or is it something different? Like if we often, there is no doubt that Web3 is a decentralisation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could say it's a reaction to what came before it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's also natural evolution, right? So it's all the opportunity for decentralization is presented by technology, and blockchain is extraordinary technology,
Is it though, if you think about AA
mm-hmm.
and it's a community, or Southern Cross, another membership-based organization,
mm-hmm.
isn't that just an old version of DAOs now?
Yeah, it's a very similar model, right? Where your customers, your members own your organization and you operate that organization for their benefit.
Who controls truly organizations like AA? So there's no doubt if I go to Google or Facebook or these others.
So AA has 18 districts around New Zealand.
Yeah.
Each district elects a district council. The district council then elects a national council, which is the ultimate governing body.
Yeah.
But the national council then elects a board, and the board oversees the management team and the chief executive.
Okay. You could see that been replicating in DAOs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think that the promise though of Web3 is you can make it a lot more streamlined, right?
And automatic.
And automatic. And that brings pros and cons. So we could have national elections, presumably now via the internet, via blockchain, and everyone could vote on everything if you wanted, if you really wanted to downsize your government. But that doesn't necessarily lead to better outcomes. It might do, but it doesn't necessarily, right? You want to make sure that people are making informed decisions, you would hope as well, and we're not entirely reactive to a vote every day, right? You have to get a balance right. But I think these are some of the really interesting things we're going to explore as a society over the next 20 or 30 years is how can we get community to have a stronger, more informed voice in our decision making for the good of everyone.
Does that mean when you look ahead, you see messiness and lots of different models and efforts by people to try?
And look, you always get that, and we're seeing it at the moment. There's so many different models. There's a lot of noise out there. I think noise is increasing because of the ease of communication these days, and people can be very vocal through a lot of social media platforms. There's a huge amount of noise over there. I think back to early in my career in the late 90s when I was at Air New Zealand, you still used to get written memos across your desk, right? And people thought carefully about something that they typed out and sent to you. You didn't get the barrage of emails that we all get because it's so easy to send an email. In my DJ career, I started off DJing vinyl, and a record had to be really good quality for someone to want to invest in producing it on vinyl. And now we live in an environment where everyone can produce music and put it out on the internet from their bedroom. So there's a much wider choice of music available at the moment, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily better. It means there's a lot more chaff to cut through to find the wheat.
Now, every visitor or guest on these shows needs to tell me a secret. I didn't tell you about that because I knew if I did, you would think hard or you would check with some people. So have you got any alpha, anything that we should be looking out for?
I
love it.
No, I'm just trying to think of an interesting secret.
Or are you just going, what if I say this?
Yeah.
What the replications will be?
Yeah, I'm a pretty open person. I can't think of anything that springs to mind.
You've got nothing. Are you going to deadpan me back?
I'm trying to think of a good answer to your question.
Or maybe just say, like, which part of the ecosystem should we be looking at hard right now?
For Fluff World, look, Fluff is the apex asset of that ecosystem. 10,000 fluffs. I think there might be 9,999. I've got a hunch someone mistakenly sent one to a burn address. But there's only 450, 460 fluffs listed right now. The floor price is as low as it's been for a long time. You just grow that community by 400 people. That would add so much vitality back to it at the moment. Some of the holders are getting a little bit antsy at the moment because of the falling floor price. But I still think that collection has been, positioned as the apex of its ecosystem by NFL and has clearly got so much commitment to its future. So I've got so much faith in it.
Technical question. I don't know whether you know the answer. Will the merge of Ether be significant?
Yeah, I've been reading a lot about that this week, and I question the logic of it. I think Ether is going to lose its decentralization through the merge, right? Moving from proof of work to proof of stake is going to see a very small handful of entities decide what blocks are written to the blockchain through proof of stake. And I think that's a fundamental mistake. And I think it's going to be really strong for Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's interesting, actually. It is interesting. Right, aspirations for you. Like, what are your aspirations, right?
I want to bring up the best children I can. Like, that's by far my biggest purpose.
What are their names?
Rocco and Adam.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So number one aspiration.
Yeah, that's number one.
Bring your children.
Yeah.
Enable them into that.
Yeah, I want you want your kids to help make the world a better place. And I don't want that to sound really grandiose, but everyone contributes in their own small way. So if I can bring them up with good values that they can share with others, hopefully you do your bit, right?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What about the industry? Generally, like Web3? What's your aspirations?
Look, I'm watching that with great interest. I feel really fortunate to, be involved, I guess, as an investor at this early stage, and it's something I'm really passionate about. There's so many unknowns there, and again, using the internet analogy, no one had any idea how the internet was going to play out in the late 90s, and we all remember, pets.com and some of the failed experiments. I actually remember listening to a futurist speak at a business school I went to in Germany in 2000 at the Millennium, and he was talking about what the internet was going to be like, and his model was that you were going to order a movie online, not streaming, just order a movie online, and then you could also order an ice cream and popcorn, and it would be delivered to your house.
And what did you think when you're hearing it?
It was just crazy, right? And I always remember that because I always thought, I'm going to go back and see how this plays out. It was like so far off. Yeah.
That's pretty cool, actually.
No one anticipated social media, right?
No.
Back then.
No.
And the power that would have.
Yeah.
no one anticipated smartphones. That
Do you limit
an
your kids' screen time?
Actually, they're pretty good. Like they're mad gamers at the moment, but they're also like love their rugby and they love playing outside with dad, and so they're pretty good kids. They don't get too pushy with it, and they're pretty good at doing their homework. So reading books and like.
Sounds ideal. Must be their mum.
Their mum is amazing. Yeah, their mum's Faye stays at home, so we're really fortunate that she doesn't have to work, so she spends a lot of time with the kids.
It does then raise a question for me: is like, do you feel you have a balanced life?
Yeah, very much. And I've always thought that. You talked about a corporate career, DJing, creative pursuits. I've been I paint as well.
You paint?
Yeah. So I'm a keen abstract expressionist.
Love it.
So
You
so
NFT that?
no, it's just kind of I've got the kids doing it actually. I taught the kids how to do Jackson Pollock splatter paintings over lockdown last year, and they produced some fantastic work, and they've sold some as well.
Really?
Yeah. But no, it's just a creative pursuit. I think that balance is important. Physical fitness and social time and work and everything. You want to keep a balanced life. So time management's the biggest.
So how do you do that? Because you've got family, which is clearly very important to you.
Yeah.
You've got a long career at AA, like 18 years. You're and you feel to me to be an all-in person.
Yeah.
So
I don't watch TV for a start. My entertainment time is crypto Twitter, checking Discord in the evening. When the kids go down, it's like my crypto time. So from 9 o'clock to midnight, 1 in the morning, I'm reading.
And you wake up what time?
7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sleep well?
Yeah.
Even though you're over 50 now,
Yeah.
it's all
Even though I have all that blue light at night, I still sleep pretty well. Yeah.
I woke up at like 4 this morning and I had something ugly I needed to deal with. And I was like, bastard, why am I awake?
My kids don't wake up till 8.
That's good.
Lucky they're late risers. But time is everything, right? I'm really fortunate. I've got a fantastic team at work and they're very, very good at what they do. And I'm really into developing them. So I'm quite hands off from my management style perspective, which lets me focus on the strategy and the pace setting and those things. And I just try and manage my time as efficiently as I can.
I think it may be unique to you, but I definitely think in some ecosystems, you get, whales or big players or maxis like you that are generous, that are open, that share. And, you to me seem to have a lot of space. I know you don't because you're super busy, but that gives me hope around the ecosystem. And I know you've joined the ecosystem because you saw something special. And I think that's pretty amazing. And I think the more that happens, the more we encourage more people like you.
Right? We need to build the community. So the big holders being generous with their time helps build the community. And I think all of us have onboarded other people into the community who then go onboard others. I had barbecues last summer and the next day a friend was ringing up proudly to say he'd bought his first party bear. And then a month later he's ringing me back. So I've got a fluff now and I've got this and I've got that. And he was a builder. He's got a building business and he goes on to the boys on site. I've got them in too. So that's how it works, right? You build the community.
That's pretty cool.
And it's a complex thing to communicate. So word of mouth, those barbecues and chats over drinks are where a lot of it happens.
Yeah, it's special. Right, last question. Take yourself to the 15-year-old student from your local school. Your local school was where, in Wellington?
When I went to school, I went to Wellington College, yeah.
Okay. So there's a 15-year-old kid that you're chatting to. What are you saying to him or her?
So if you're 13-year-old of that school now, so he's coming up to stay soon. I'll be showing him some of the stuff that I'm doing. This is research, encouragement to read. Find something you're passionate about. Like, don't invest in anything you're not passionate about. Don't buy an NFT you don't like. Find stuff you enjoy, and it's going to make it so much easier.
You're going to encourage your kids that they have to go to university?
I really want my kids to go to university, and that'll
why?
To get a really broad education, and I really want them to study arts because I think arts gives you like a really good broad education, understanding the human condition and all that, right? So if I'm fortunate enough that there's a big family trust and a lot of capital available for the kids to do what they want, it's going to be predicated on them having a university degree and a really good education and using it wisely.
How do you get them to work hard like you and Faye do?
So my oldest son, 7, has just he is like me at 12 already. He's just got this incredible self-starting nature, thirst for knowledge. He's scoring 500 points in Scrabble games at 7 years old. He's like phenomenally intelligent. He blitzed chess and Monopoly over lockdown. So he's just got it. And then my youngest is a lot more relaxed and likes his chill time, and that's him. I don't want to change them. I think just bring out the best in them and let them be who they are. You know, I don't want to try and make them into me or what I think is right. I think they have to decide that path for themselves, but I have to, it's my job to teach them the values and give them the opportunities and help them make good decisions. And give them the opportunities and help them make good decisions, right?
Do you think of yourself as a founder?
No.
Do you think of yourself as a founder?
No.
What do you think, like?
No, I think of myself as someone who's quick to identify new opportunities and run with them.
Does that mean when you go into a crowd, you're always on the edge or you're in the middle?
Start off on the edge. Always start off on the edge, and then I might work my way.
That's because of your height too. People like me can't get into it. You know, we have to get a box to see where everyone is.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Like I look at a lot of things, and then there's some things that just really click with me, and then I'll get deeply passionate about those.
And you just act.
Yeah.
And you go deep.
Yeah.
You know, one of the great things I think that I feel blessed about being part of Monarchy and then learning about Web3 is that you get the opportunity to go beyond the Twitter profile into the Discords and others. And Discord I find very challenging, but you go there, is that you meet people.
Yeah.
And there is a sense of alignment. Of course, I've got all my mates who just think I'm a fruity.
Yeah.
But I think it's the joy that you get to see the humans behind and understand them and about their lives, which is exciting.
And you know, like I'm catching up with one of the big fluff whales later on, and he's one of the nicest people you could ever meet. And I've only met him through this community, you know?
Really?
Yeah.
Should I interview him?
Absolutely.
Are you prepared to ask him?
Yep.
Do you think he'll come?
Yep.
Can you get T. Lotta for me?
I can talk to T. Lotta, but you'll have to, you know, you can talk to, I met T. Lotta through you, I think.
You can answer my DMs.
Oh, right. Okay. So there you go. T. Lotta's very focused on not being doxxed. She's not quite as open to being doxxed as some of us.
What's doxxed?
So documented. So like if people can see who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. I just talk too much about stuff. I can't stay like undercover long, you know. I'm good at.
Can I say thank you?
Yeah,
thank you for all the interactions. Thank you for being, you know, open. I think, you know, roles that people like you play are really important, not just in the Web3 world, but in the other world as well. And for people to see with safety that they can go into that and see beyond that. And so I really appreciate you taking all the time.
And hey, look, my DMs are open. If people want to contact me on Twitter or ask a question, reach out.
Just at Dougal Swift.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Andy.
Hey, so thanks everyone. Real Talk finished for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Follow us on monarchy.io. Follow us on the YouTube channel. Find those connections to get into the friends and family Discord. We've got some pretty awesome Real Talks coming up in the next month, including someone who will be just back from Burning Man. And that's going to be an interesting conversation with Kat Lintop. So join us in the future. See ya.